bombshell revelations in the US in the saga of the Biden family's dodgy business dealings. Republicans have got their hands on bank records showing Hunter Biden used a business account to make monthly payments to his dad. Here's House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer.
Today, the House Oversight Committee is releasing subpoenaed bank records that show Hunter Biden's business entity, Owasco PC, made direct monthly payments to Joe Biden. This wasn't a payment from Hunter Biden's personal account, but an account for his corporation that received payments from China and other shady corners of the world.
Kristin Tate explains that this is dynamite for the president.
It is. However, I'll tell you this, Chris, if you go to CNN's homepage or the New York Times homepage or the Washington Post's homepage, you won't find many headlines about this bombshell story. But, you know, somehow, as this information continues to get out there, it is seeping into the public's knowledge through platforms like X. People are hearing about these stories, even though the media is trying to block them. And that's why at this point, only 30% of the public thinks that Biden did nothing wrong. The other remaining percentage either think that Biden acted unethically with his son and his son's business dealings or illegally. So at this point, the vast majority of the American people realize that Joe Biden was lying when he campaigned for president, saying he did nothing wrong and had no knowledge of his son's overseas shady business dealings. And it's starting to look really bad, not just for Biden, but for the Democrats who are looking around the room wondering who they can replace this candidate with, assuming Joe Biden is even willing to step aside. So leftists and Democrats are getting very nervous right now.
Yeah, and these investigations and hearings will continue and hopefully make the case more plain to the American people. But already, as you say, there's a prima facie case that the president's misled the political system and the public, because he's always said he had nothing to do with Hunter Biden's business dealings. Here's evidence he's getting regular payments from Hunter Biden's companies. And there was, of course, that phone intercept where he seemed to be giving Hunter Biden some advice about how all of this was playing out in the media. And there's another good example of how President Biden has always denied any connection to this. This is from before he became president. This is back in 2019, a 60 Minutes interview.
I've never discussed my business or their business, my sons or daughters, and I've never discussed them because they know where I have to do my job and that's it, and they have to make their own judgments.
Two things about that, Kristen. Firstly, that seems to be untrue, right?
Of course it's untrue. And, you know, at this point, it's quite clear to the American people that he was lying and that there is clearly corruption going on here, but nothing is going to be done about it, Chris. We all know if this were any Republican, they would be in big trouble. At least there would be scandal brewing in the media and journalists trying to get to the bottom of it. But nobody on the left cares, especially the media. And if anything, at least what I appreciate about the last few years is that the vast majority of the public now understands that there is a two-tiered justice system in this country. If you are a Democrat, you can get away with anything. Heck, you can burn the country down in riots for, you know, the better part of a year. And if you're a Democrat, if you're with BLM, that's totally fine. Or if your last name is Biden, you can go around the world and engage in corrupt business dealings and then become president of the United States, and that's totally fine. It is a two-tiered justice system, and I doubt that Joe Biden will ever pay for his crimes. But hey, maybe it will prevent him from being president if enough of the public wakes up and realizes just how bad the corruption is.
Yeah, the double standards of the media are incredible. And as you say, in the US, that seems to flow into the justice system as well. But that double standard from the leftist media is very familiar to us here in Australia as well. The second point I was going to make about that Joe Biden interview from 2019 was how relatively lucid he sounded. It just shows us how dramatically he's declined, his mental health or his acuity has declined over the ensuing 4 years. In fact, have a look at this latest public appearance by former President Donald Trump. He mocks Joe Biden.
I'm very glad they didn't give me any notes, because if I did, I would have been reading. I would have been saying, thank you, here's Biden. Thank you.
Yeah, it's like shooting fish in a barrel there. But he went on to say that he doesn't mind making fun of Joe Biden because Joe Biden indicted him, and that's where he made a comparison to the famous gangster Al Capone.
Al Capone, Scarface. That was where the movie came from. He had a scar from here to here, and he didn't get that scar from playing tiddlywinks. Do we agree? He got indicted one time. I got indicted 4 times for nothing, And, you know, I think one of the reasons our polls are so high, I think they're 25, 30, 40% higher than they might have been. One of the reasons is because of that, because people get it. They don't like to see it.
Is he right, Kristen? Do many voters see him as the victim?
You know, I think Trump is right. I think that going back to the age issue, you know, the corruption is definitely hurting Biden. But when you talk about corruption, it's very complicated. There are lots of facts. You have to read article after article to really understand what happened. When it comes to Joe Biden's age and his mental decline, it is just so clear when you listen to him speak for just, you know, a couple of minutes. This man is not able to do this job. Joe Biden does not have the ability to be the leader of the free world. It's so obvious to anybody who looks and listens. So that, I believe, is the biggest factor about why Donald Trump is up in a lot of these states like Arizona and Georgia. He's even up right now with groups that historically always vote for Democrats. I saw a poll this morning that showed Donald Trump up with black men. That's huge for a Republican. It was like President Trump is polling at 49% with black men, while Biden's at 45%. These are very significant numbers. And if you go out on the streets and you talk to people, the number one thing they will tell you about Joe Biden is that he's just too old. He is not with it. So that's what's really hurting President Biden right now.
Yeah, those Democrat Party leaders have got a lot of thinking to do over the Christmas New Year break, Kristen. Thanks for joining us again.